Behind the Hooks. With Manny Degrandis. And Daniel Panetta.
And we're back.
Hey. What is going on, Manny Degrandis?
Not much to get Panetta. So we have a special guest with us today.
We do.
Wave, everybody. And to Deryck Roche. I said it wrong. I even asked him to say it.
Everybody just says Roche, so just say Roche. It's easier.
All right.
Nice.
It's easy to remember too.
Yes, exactly.
I guess if it was Roche, there'd be that little accent of gear thing on the end of the E.
Yeah, something good.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I almost had it right. Grade 9.
I might be wrong, actually. Hold on.
Grade 9 French coming in handy here.
Finally.
Did anybody go past grade 9 French?
I didn't.
I sure as hell didn't.
I didn't even understand it in grade 9. So.
Well, you know what? It would have helped when we were touring through.
You know what? That's where I learned how to get by, which is going to Montreal and just figuring shit out.
So, why are you on our show, Deryck?
He's this confrontational with everybody.
Tell me why I asked you to be on the show.
Why am I on the show?
We summoned you?
I kind of woke up this morning, had some eggs and bacon, and then I said, "Hey, I want to be on Daniel Panetta's show, damn it!"
This Manny guy keeps sending me messages, but I want to be on Daniel's show.
Now my head's big.
Exactly. So I'm going to start off, and then you're going to fix everything that I said. This is a normal thing, actually, but
You got a lot of shit wrong.
so Deryck started off a Facebook page called Toronto Musicians.
Toronto Entertainers Fight for COVID-19 Rights.
Exactly, right? Just like I said.
Every title I have has to rhyme or something. It's really weird. I don't mean to, but it's like.
I joined it right away, and I was following along, and you're trying real hard to help everyone through this. Why? Tell us why you jumped on this, and because I'm sure you're a busy guy. You got bands and projects and jobs and stuff. Why do you keep trying to help us?
Because I love the Toronto music community. Simply put, I love playing in this city. I mean, I've been here. I don't even want to say because then you'll know my age. I've been here.
I'm probably younger than you, but I look 10 years older than you.
No, seriously. I just, I've been in this scene here in the city for so long, playing with a lot of amazing musicians, and when this thing dropped. I think the last gig we were doing was at Grace McNally's, and we had the weekend there, basically, the 14th and the 15th of March, earlier this year. And we did both nights. And then right after that, it was just weird. That following Monday, it was just like, okay, shut down for 2 weeks. This pandemic we're not sure what's going to happen. But we'll reopen in 2 weeks. And I was just scratching inside of my head. I was like, it just doesn't sound right. Because usually when somebody says a pandemic, that's worldwide and it's pretty serious. It's not just like we had an outbreak in one club and got it under control, right? So and then 2 weeks had passed, and then everybody's we're talking with each other on the phone, and we're like, okay, now what? Yeah. Right? So I said, you know what? I'm going to form this page because if I can't work, I can't make an income, and that means everybody else too that's in the same boat in the entertainment industry. And when I first started this page, the title was different. I said, I think I put Toronto musicians fight for COVID-19 rights, but then I changed it. Then I changed it to Toronto entertainers because it's everybody in the entertainment industry, basically.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's somebody on a film set, whether it's somebody behind a mixing board, whether it's a musician, whether it's a comedian, singer, whoever it happens to be, it's everybody in the entertainment industry now has lost their gig, you know, lost their ability to work. And at that time, they didn't have the CERB in place, right? Yeah. So, you know, and I'll admit it, at that time, it was just like I was worried. Like, I'm sure I had some money saved, and I do a few things. I teach at Harris Institute, teach music production there, and then I run my studio here, and I play in a few bands and stuff like that. But when they shut everything down, it was like everything. And I'm looking at my bills, and I'm like, I only got so much money. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and here's the funniest thing. I paid my taxes early this year. Should have held on to that bad boy. You know what I mean? It's like, So it was like that was just a little bit of a drain on the bank account as well. So it's, you know, I just jumped on it right away, and I just said, look, we need to start something here and get people involved and make sure that the government knows that we are here and we are legitimate and we deserve everything everybody else gets because we pay taxes too.
Yeah, that's a funny thing because a lot of people, like, the frustrating thing that I get is we have the most expensive gear, right? It costs a fortune for us to maintain. It costs a fortune for us to learn how to use this gear.
Right.
We have to pay a fuck ton of money in taxes because we're self-employed.
Right.
And you're having a problem giving us $100.
Right. Yeah.
I know. It's the only.
Really, none of it makes sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. Never did.
No, you know, and just, you know, what was great about the page was that, you know, it would be an announcement, and then you'd already jump on top of that, and you'd give people phone numbers to call that were confused. Actual musician terms or entertainment terms of what we deserve in all that fancy writing and whatever. Like, that's what I found the coolest was, hey, like, here's a number, or hey, anybody else having problems with the new CRB or whatever, you know, and there was an actual place for people to discuss what's, you know, their problems, and seeing that other people are having the same problems, that okay, then I could sleep tonight knowing that, you know, Tom, Bill, and Joe and Harry all have the same problem, and they'll probably have it fixed by Monday. Because that was the whole thing with and we're still in the middle of it, but the not knowing of, like, okay, 2 weeks off, like you said, and then at, you know, second week of that, I'm getting, you know, phone calls of, you know, we're gonna you know, cancel the rest of the month. We're gonna cancel the rest of the year. And without any money coming in, without the CERB, because that was a huge thing. I'll give you my story after, but about all that, and that was, you know, that was so hard. So it was nice to go somewhere and see that other people were having the same problem, and we were able to kind of at least get through it.
Well, you know, the thing is, I've always kind of kept myself a little bit, well, one toe in, with the Toronto Arts Council, Unisom, Toronto Works. You know, there's a lot of help out there, which is great. And actually, in the beginning, I used a little bit of it just to kind of keep myself going until the CERB started, right? And they were like, no problem. And I think it's always a good thing that, you know, we're all musicians, entertainers, whatever, what have you. But that's one thing I always stress to my friends that are in the industry. It's always be a business person, be about your business, right? Because if you can be about your business, then you can actually propel yourself a little further. So it means doing your taxes, registering your business, get involved somehow in some of these organizations. And it doesn't mean you have to be in it full time, but it's kind of like just know about it, right? And those kind of things will help you, because here in Canada is like one of the only places in the world. I'm sure there's others, but one of the best places in the world for arts support, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
More so than some of my friends in the States, right?
Big time.
Where they've only, to this date, some of them have only gotten one check from the government, and now they're clawing at the government, which I don't blame them, but they should have, like, they should have pushed a little harder.
Well, and art support in the States hasn't really been a thing since the JFK time.
Right.
Like, there's been such minimal support for our buddies down there, and it's really sad, especially now.
Yeah, and it's kind of like up here. There's lots of support, but I think I hate to say this, but we as Canadians can be a little bit passive sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit conservative, and we're just like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No, man, get in there, get it, grab it. It's right there for the taking. You know what I mean? And this is why, one person on the site said to me, they said, "What is this always got to be a fight?" I said, "Are you kidding me? Look what we're up against. Look what we're up against, man."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're always trying to legitimize what we do, and that's the sad part. That's the sad thing.
It's
this industry here in Canada alone brings in almost $1 billion or a little less.
Yeah.
Like the whole entertainment industry, right? So I don't know the exact numbers for Toronto. I do have some links to Toronto Arts Council and Canadian Music League Association that did some research on the kind of numbers that entertainment brings into Ontario, and it's up there with all the big boys and the corporations.
I'd love to get those links. We can maybe put these up.
They're actually still on my site. You probably just have to scroll down.
Okay, awesome.
I did post a link on my site because anytime I get something, I post it there.
Awesome.
But it's what we do is legitimate. We have to.
Yeah.
The government has to know that it's legitimate. Our local MPPs need to know that it's legitimate. The banks need to know what we do is legitimate. And we're doing this as a career choice. We're not doing this for fun. It's not a hobby. Well, maybe some people do, but all I'm saying is that there's a lot of professionals in here that do this full time, and we need the support just like any other organization.
Exactly.
Amen.
So you have some people now. When you first started it, did you start the page on your own?
Yeah, I started it. Excuse me. I started on my own, but I had a lot of people that joined. I'm not sure if you guys know Tony Carlucci.
Yes, because he sent me a message 3 months ago with a beautifully written letter that we all signed, right? So that's why I wanted to give Tony a lot of props. And I passed that around to Tony sent it to me, and I said, okay, I'm going to send it to everybody up here, all my group of friends, because I wanted to give him respect for that too. And he's helping you. I see you guys are doing Zoom calls together a lot of the time.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff together. Through Tony, I met Ian Judson, which is one of the singers of his band, and Ian Judson should be working for the government. He should be running this country, as far as I'm concerned, because he's the thought that the knowledge that he has about the innards of the government and the CRA and all these different agencies is just incredible. And on top of that, he's a musician. As well, right? And then there's we got the TMA involved as well. SIVA has been involved. CMLA, Toronto Arts Council, like a lot of different people that I might not have met or talked to on a consistent basis like I do currently, and then the myriads of musicians and entertainers that I've met. So it's been a great thing to meet everybody and hear everybody's story and see what they're going through and
need support and support system for each other. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now you've been involved in the music field for so long. Has this opened your eyes to new avenues as well, like the different kinds of support that may have been so buried that we haven't been able to see in the forefront?
Yeah, I think outside of the normal unions like Toronto Musicians Association and there's another one as well. I just can't think of it off the top of my head right at the moment. But it's having this group. I think is going to be an ongoing, consistent thing for me going, moving through the future here.
Yeah.
You know, coming into 2021, I took a little break before Christmas. I just told everybody, okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of a week or two off, you know, just to kind of collect my thoughts, you know, visit some family and forget about this for a minute. But
same day I messaged him.
Like,
sorry.
hard with what we do.
I'm like, sorry, man. I ain't doing that right now, man. I'm taking a break.
I hear you, man.
And
I can't imagine just that. I mean, it's a good kind of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Just like the mental exhaustion and getting people aware is a very exhausting thing.
yes.
Yeah.
And I do commend you for that. That's pretty amazing that you're so involved.
But I'm not trying to take, you know, all the credit for myself, because there's been a lot of people that have contributed, like Carrie Chestnut. She's a saxophone player.
Yeah.
She's contributed a lot to it. There's been a lot of key people that have just, you know, contributed, because I mean, I can put up my point of view and my opinion, but it's also good to hear everybody else's.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying I'm wrong, but I want to know what everybody's opinion is, and I want to know like what it is, what you think, and how it may be able to help the situation. Because a lot of times too, it can give me ideas of, you know, form writing some of these letters and sending them out, because I sent out a ton of letters, you know. Not in the last little while since the CRB, I haven't really sent many, but I've been formulating a lot of new ones just based off of when can we get back to work.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of factors involved, and I really, really, truly believe this virus, especially when they talk about numbers, I don't think we're a main proponent of those high numbers. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, they could say, okay, well, people going to clubs and doing this and doing that, but I think it's quite a few other things, and I think we already know what they are. There's like the big box stores, you know what I mean? The airlines, this transmission of people coming in and out of the country. There's a lot of transmission of this virus that way. You know, they've already.
How else does it get around the world?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That fast. Like, it's just like, it's not showing up in our milk. It's
No.
by us traveling. And I literally, you know, I got a rude awakening, I don't know, a month ago when I realized people were still flying.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what are you talking, like, because I personally know people that live down south in the winter and that couldn't go because
Right.
the borders are closed, right? They couldn't get to Florida and whatnot. But people are still just going to Aruba and going to, you know, China for business or whatever. And I'm just sitting there going, wait, I thought this was closed, you know? And because, you know, when you watch the news, they tell you what they're going to tell you and stuff like that. And that's, you know, whatever, that's a whole other day. But
you know, one of the things they should have done is they should have shut down the airlines for 3 months from the beginning.
Right away.
Yeah, I did speak about this a little while back, where leaving those little things open, and it's just like, well, this, you know, just the distinguishing or trying to distinguish what was an essential service versus what wasn't.
Right.
If we just shut everything down, let everybody who's involved in finding out what was going on, especially at the beginning, just give them a chance.
Yeah.
Don't, like, you know, nickel and dime, well, we need this, but we need this. Just shut everything down for a month.
Right.
That would have done I think a lot of countries did do that.
And they're fine, yeah.
And they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, I get it, we're a developed country, just like the United States, and a lot of things, if you shut down, the ecosystem shuts down as well. But at the same time, it's like, we would have been a month ahead, or at least a month ahead, with the research and finding the vaccine and doing all that stuff. We wouldn't be into 2021 now and still trying to figure shit out.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I'm speaking as an idiot. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I understand. I can't imagine how difficult this is of a time.
The thing about it, though, there's a lot of things that are just common sense that weren't done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and that's the upsetting thing, because they've taken our life away, and oh no, you know, don't worry about it. Like, you know, I had a huge fight with getting my money in the beginning, and because they didn't, when I had to speak to, everything was on hold, I was on hold and everything. Super long story, but when I first talked to the first person, they did not understand my life. Like, they didn't understand gigs,
Right.
and they didn't understand my teaching, because what made the computer go crazy was that I said I was self-employed, right? And then
question marks over the head.
The EI computer just explodes, right? And then you're
Right.
on hold. So then you have to talk to someone. And, and I said, look, I got 3 jobs, right? I was working, mornings at a music store, and then teaching at night, and then gigging whenever, and after that on the weekend.
Right.
And they just didn't understand, I was like, I have 3 jobs, and it's all on my, papers, on all my taxes, I report all the money. And they just couldn't understand the self-employment and everything. And then on the first conversation, she's like, well, are you looking for work? And I started laughing, right? Because this is like now, I don't know, April or May. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's nothing out there. And my field is destroyed. Especially with my teacher, I taught bands, right? So I wasn't allowed to have, 5 people in a room rocking out, right? So online, yeah, you could do your online one-on-one lessons, but that wasn't my main thing for teaching. I turned it into this band thing that I do, or did, and they just didn't understand all that. And then finally, what got me through was the third person I spoke with. Second person got mad at me that I laughed and not looking for a job, because that's the whole thing. Always with EI, you just have to, apparently have to always say you're looking for a job, even if there's not a job or another person on this.
Why isn't what we do a job?
Right, yeah, it's like there's no gigs, right? And then, the last person actually was a student at where I taught, and he understood my job.
No way!
So
Wow.
he said to me, refill it out, and don't put self-employed, right? And because now it's not going to set a flag or anything, and I understand what you're doing, because they didn't understand the subcontracting and me going into the store and they're giving me the lessons. I use their equipment. They didn't understand it.
So the definition of subcontracting, which is what we are as a subcontracted person or personnel, going into gigs, going into teaching, we're paying overhead and we're getting paid time. That's the definition of subcontracting. We can't say that we're being subcontracted.
No, it's because I said self-employed, because I was talking about gigs, and because I consider gigs obviously self-employment, and teaching at home self-employment. It's very confusing, right?
You're right.
Yeah,
So,
but
So they,
the thing is, they only understand self-employed when it comes down to, okay, well, what's your payroll count and how many employees do you have?
yeah, that was my favorite.
Right? And the minute you say, well, I don't have employees, but I do subcontract out people, they get all confused.
So confused.
And you know what? Okay, I get it. To a certain point.
well, I don't, because the IRS has an actual department for our kind of work. Like, there's no excuse.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of our heroes have gone broke because of that. So yeah, it was a terrible, it was a bad time for me. It was a low, like going, wait a second, I can't even apply for whatever. I know there's people who are illegally applying. I never even had a job and are getting this. Why am I getting hassled for a guy who worked 7 days a week, man?
Well, you see, that's the thing. There's people that I know, and their kids were not in school, and they applied, even though they're living at home and their mom and dad makes, fairly good money. They applied and they got it.
Yeah.
Like, with no questions.
No question.
But you see, here's 2 things. The funniest thing is, when you applied over the phone, they don't ask you a lot of those questions that you got to ask. Right?
Yeah.
They just ask some basic questions and you just hit 1 or 2. If you hit 2, you get turfed off. The call kind of ends on you, right? But if you keep hitting 1, it's just like you got through, you put in your social insurance number, and at the end of it, they're like, yep, you'll get your payment within 5 days. And sure enough, there it was in your account, right?
Yeah.
As long as you gave them all your bank information, all that kind of stuff, right? But a lot of people that did stuff online, it's just like this myriad of lines and questions and boxes that you had to fill out that pertain that didn't really pertain to us as musicians, really. So I think there's a lot of things that they had to change on the fly. And thank God they changed them, because if not, we'd all be hurting pretty bad right now, right?
And that's more the CRB, right? Because what ended up happening once they're switching to CRB, I got a job. I just put it out there, and I ended up getting a whole other day job because I just couldn't handle all that anymore. Right? I just you know
I did the same, man.
CRB is very confusing from what I read, just from reading from your page and hearing, like, that's where the big, like,
the CRB is just based around the EI program, and here's the other catch, and I knew this was going to happen because I sent a letter to the financial whip for the Conservatives, right, which is Pierre Poilievre. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, but he wrote me back and he said, you know what, Deryck, we have all the tools to do this. It's just the Liberal government refuses to use them, right? And this was the EI program. This was the EI program from the beginning. So from the beginning, certain self-employed people in the entertainment industry, specifically, or self-employed people, should have been on this CRB.
Yeah. Right?
Because one thing they didn't do with CERB is take off the taxes, which now they do. Right? So yeah, you get $2,000, and they basically take off $200. Okay, so
right.
So you get a check every 2 weeks. You can apply, and it's $900 basically, right?
Okay.
But they're taking taxes off this time, which they didn't do in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they should have did it from the beginning, because a lot of people are gonna have problems.
No, big time.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna have a lot of problems depending on how much they made, how much they're reporting. And this is why I'm always stressing to musicians, please do your taxes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
As much as you don't want to do your taxes, as much as you think you're saving money, as much as you blah 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 blah, right? If you
the only system you're sticking it to is your own.
Exactly.
So, for those of you that are wondering where we are right now, we are in the Buzz 505 studio. This space is completely rentable if you're thinking about putting on a show for yourself. We're going behind the hooks right now. Buzz 505 studio features everything that you see here, except for Manny and I. We will not come with your podcast.
But I've been known to help other people with their own podcast.
Yeah.
Being an employee here also.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great space. It's very comfortable. I don't think this would be possible without this kind of space and being able to do something like this. So if you are interested in renting out this space, check out the Buzz 505 website. Check out Buzz 505's various podcasts that they produce here in-house. And don't be afraid to reach out. This is it's a great space. It's really cool to be here.
Yes, you'll enjoy the vibe. Buzz 505.
All right. But that's taxes. That's the exact thing, because it's so hard now anyways with screwing the tax man, because corporate gigs are all done by check, and bars are now paying you through e-transfer, and session where everything there, it's just everything's on paper, so we can't even screw the government, and so you might as well just do your taxes, do it. So then when this situation came up with everything, I was like, this is cool. I'm fine. I'm good. Like, if I get, EI generally was 65%, right? I'm like, if I get 65% of this, I could ride this off for a couple months, 3 months, 4 months, and get my bills paid and my daughter's braces and all this stuff, right? But and then it didn't turn out for me that way. And I was like, all right, March 18th, 19th, I'm like, I'm going to be okay. I'm okay. March 20th, I'm pulling my hair out. 30th.
Well, yeah, because we had a gig like the 22nd of March, and we didn't find out until the Tuesday before that, Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's because it's a lovely bar and they don't want to...
they were holding off.
They're the type of people, if they don't tell us it's closed, we're going to be going. So that
Yeah.
yeah, and I had oh my god, the gigs, and then there's that period of
nuts.
I don't know, man, and then then a lot of your corporate gigs just get pushed a year away, right?
Yep.
Some did, and some I had to just give the money back.
Yeah.
Right, because they were just like, because some people just get to the point where they're so unsure that they just wanted their money back, and I was just like, even though my contract stated that I didn't have to give the money back, a lot of them I did. Just to be because these are people that I've worked with for a long time, and it's like they continue to give me work, they continue to promote my band.
So it's a good faith thing.
Yeah, it was a good faith thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people said no, just hold on to it. And even with a few of those people, I just said no, take the money back, and then we'll deal with it another time once we can.
Good on you.
Because it could be like, look at it. It's been almost a year now, and then they're talking about another year before we might be able to play. They're talking about the fall of 2021 when they might have every Canadian vaccinated.
Yeah. Which is so upsetting because the summer is,
right.
and that's the thing too, it was so funny, well, not funny, but I was really upset about all the wedding gigs and things that losing through the summer. It was that was really heartbreaking, right? Because summers are great for musicians if, whatever, right? But then, then I'm watching the news and but a lot of these other people are still having weddings and passing the virus around. And I'm like, wait, I can't play at your wedding, but you're still going to have the wedding and you're still going to pass the virus around. Totally. It was just it was just what
I found funny? The funniest thing that I found was I had a bunch of weddings booked for last summer and a bunch of weddings booked for this year. I've got contracts already for May 2021.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen.
No.
But the funny thing is I got either 3 or 4 cancellations because they called off the wedding altogether.
Ooh.
Because these people now have to spend time with each other during COVID, and they called off their own damn wedding. They don't want to be with each other anymore.
It's funny seeing some of those memes.
That's why I'm changing my business now. I'm going to be doing divorce parties only.
That's not a bad idea, though.
You get the 3-piece band playing ZZ Top.
No, you dress up like the guys on the Titanic and you just play when the ship is sinking.
I want this Titanic. You know how I feel about that Titanic? I finally watched this Titanic they speak of during COVID. I had a lot of time.
Hey, man. I never related so much to a violin player.
So, this is something we chatted before the show, and I almost forgot to bring this up. But I actually met Deryck. I don't know how many years ago was it now? 6 years ago, 5 years ago, where you started the fair gig pay.
Oh yeah. Was it fair? What was it? Fair gigs pay in the GTA or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
And this was really amazing when I saw it pop up on my Facebook feed, and then I forget exactly the way it all went down, but I remember you were just talking about undercutting and why is our money going down, and it wasn't a negative thing. There was obviously but it was more like, hey, and then I think your tone changed to less negative, hey, maybe you guys just don't know the rules, and let's chat about it.
Well, so it was more about keeping a consistent pay rate for everybody. You know what I mean? And it's there was bands out there, which I'm not going to name, that were doing some of the same gigs as me. All of a sudden we'd lose the gig at the same place. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at it we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't say anything wrong. We didn't act like assholes on stage. We showed up on time. Every time people came out and requested us more and more. Why did we lose the gig? And then I started doing a little bit of digging, and I found out some of the same bands were playing for half the money that we were getting.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's stupid.
Right? And then so I approached one band in particular, and I said, look, guys, you may think you're doing yourself good right now, but when you reach my age, you're going to want a hell of a lot more money.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like either we all do gigs for the same rate, or we just race to the bottom until it dies.
Yeah.
Right?
And that started happening, and that'll never really go away, but that really started happening around that time.
Yeah.
Where it was just, and I remember making a point we had you organized a meeting at the Orbit Room on a Monday, if I'm correct, and I was really upset at the amount of people that showed up. Wasn't as much as a bunch of people, but it should have been packed.
It's the Orbit Room. It should have been packed.
It should have been packed because this is our lives. I was the only person there that lived north of Highway 7, right? It was just like, I'm like, really?
Yeah, there's like maybe 10 or 15 people that showed up or something.
It was crazy. What was cool about it is, though, it's kind of one of everybody. I think it was Victoria Vey was there. I've never known. See how bad I am with last name? The violin player. I'm pretty sure she was there, and I remember she was talking about the classical world and that kind of money and stuff like that. Pretty sure it was her. I could be wrong. But that was really upsetting, and I think after that meeting, it kind of filtered off because it was, it's just, this is our livelihood, and if I'm playing a bar, and the same bar you're playing, I'd be upset that you're making $600 and I'm making $400. I want the $600 too.
Yeah.
Right.
Find your own damn bar.
Right? Like, right? I want that. Like, if we're both there, I think, instead of being like, no, I don't want their $600. I want $300.
Yeah, that's
right. Where it's like, it's just like, what are you doing? Like, there's one thing to be, okay, we'll play Thursday for, there's a Thursday rate maybe, or you're a top tier band there and we're not, and that's fine. So at the end of the month, they're still paying, $2,000 a month for bands, but some bands get more than other bands because they bring more people, sell more beer. That stuff makes sense to me. But to go in to a bar that's crazy busy, and you want to play there because it's crazy busy, but to be like, no, we're gonna play for less.
And you know what? When COVID lifts now, like when it eventually does, Toronto guys are gonna have to come up here. There's 30 venues that closed, like 30 places that shut down because of this virus, and we're gonna have to work together somehow.
We have to.
Yeah.
Thomas Reynolds I know his last name. I've known him for a long time. See, I said that last name, right? He put up a post on the Toronto Musicians saying, "Hey guys, like, have you lowered your rates? Have you stuff like just trying to figure out what I forget the way he worded it, but like
don't lower your rates, man.
What's been going on, right? Just like kind of like feeling. I don't know if he was feeling people out or wondering what was going on."
Don't lower your rates.
Exactly,
no,
right?
Don't.
Exactly, because it's what I found through in the beginning of COVID was you actually made more because people started tipping you.
Yeah.
Think about it like this. Think about look how hard it was before COVID.
Yeah.
To get more money. So if you lower your rates,
that's going to be the new expectation.
Like, come on. Like, look at.
We're not going to be making what we used to make.
You got. But think of your expenses. Think of your expenses. Okay, you got rent. You got rent to pay.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got other utilities you have to pay. You got to feed yourself, right? You've got gear repair, right? You've got upkeep on your gear, like even getting new things, right? Mm-hmm. You got your car to pay for. You got your insurance to pay on that car. You got insurance on your gear. Like, I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
I just grew more gray.
How can you lower your rates? You can't.
Yeah.
We're not getting enough as it is.
Exactly.
Unless you're willing to do 2 gigs a day
for
7 days a week.
Yeah.
And burn yourself out.
Right.
Keep your fucking rates.
Yeah.
Not to mention parking and man, it just goes on and on and on what you got to pay for.
So
right?
I live in Barrie.
Not for long.
Not for long. A couple months left, and then I'm back in Vaughan. But I got a lot of gigs at the beginning of the year. You know, January, February, gigging Newmarket, gigging Toronto. That $100 barely got me home.
Yeah.
Right.
Between gas and then once you account for everything that it took to get there.
Right.
So, like, you know, but at the same time, when you're paying 4 guys, in some bars that's all they can do, and you appreciate that because that is all they can do. But don't come in for $50 when you're going to deliver like maybe 25% of the show that was going to potentially be paid to the band that was originally going to be there. But like, yeah, don't change your rates. I don't see accountants dropping their salaries during this time. Working remotely.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's dropping. If anything, people are charging more. Even some of the bars that were allowed to open, that were doing patios during the summer, and I went to a couple of them. The rates were sometimes twice as high for certain things.
Dude, I'm gonna give a little secret to our viewers and our listeners. Okay, I deal with insurance companies every day. Okay, for automotive, I deal with insurance companies every day. There is a fee that we charge insurance companies for using PPE material, so like protective material, masks, gloves, everything, cleaning materials, and we can charge anywhere from $50 to $100 per vehicle. Okay, when you're going out to do a gig, don't be afraid to put that into your costs. Okay, you're legally allowed to do that. Okay. So you shouldn't be lowering your rates. You should be maybe upping your rates by $50 to pay for that material to keep you safe as well. Once these bars open up for certain capacities, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
Because you know, once they roll everything out and allow us to go back to playing, there's still going to be restrictions.
Oh yeah.
Right.
On us.
And there's still going to be, on us for sure, because you know, they're going to want to put up plexiglass around the band, and they're going to want everybody in the place to still probably wear a mask because we're in an indoor kind of venue. And then they're going to limit capacity too, probably in the beginning. I could see them limiting capacity for the first 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until this virus thing is gone, right?
Gone are those packed bars.
Yeah.
That were so fun.
I don't see that coming back for another 5 years. Really.
Between people being worried still.
Yeah.
To go when everything opens, to the rules, to the.
Yeah, and then just what they've done recently, where they're starting to deliver the vaccines, but then they introduced this new, COVID variant. I think they called it COVID variant as the new mutation of COVID-19. And it's just like, to me, I hate to say this, and people might say, "Oh, conspiracy theory, blah blah blah," but I think they're fear mongering a little bit because
100%.
Yeah, because it's kind of like we've known since high school, since we've been in grade 9 science, that a virus can mutate, right?
Yes.
So why is it just mutating now that you're bringing out the vaccines?
Hey, guys, guess what? SARS is still on the planet, by the way.
SARS is
still here. And it had been here from 2003 up until this point. And people still get SARS. So, and SARS, SARS-19, or whatever it was called, it's a division. And if you Wikipedia, like anything about COVID, they're in the same vein, right? It was a pandemic as well, right? Because there's only been so few global pandemics on the world in recent history. So COVID-19 will mutate. COVID-19 it's going to be around for a very long time. It's how we treat. It's how we dealt with malaria. It's how we dealt with all the hepatitis that we get vaccinated for.
Right.
They're still going to be on the planet. It's become indigenous to Earth. That's just what it is and how it's going to be.
Yeah.
The whole thing's very stressful. But I just want to, just big shout out to you and everybody that's jumped on your team, and just just knowing that there's a page there to get some answers and and put some questions out and have some people fighting.
I encourage people to contribute as much as possible. That's the one little disappointing thing. I didn't see enough people contributing. Like, I've left it open if anybody wants to, contribute anything to the page that they find, or even just a story that they have on behalf of themselves, something they're writing a letter, even if they're writing a letter to one of their MPPs and the response they get, that'd be great. So that's one thing I do encourage, for people to do a little bit more of. But yeah, come Monday.
Yeah, man.
We're back at it. We're back at it. We're back at it.
I commend you for your energy and for your fight, and for your knowledge and getting the people involved that are also knowledgeable.
Oh man, it's my pleasure, man. I love this city, and I love all the musicians in it, and I just want to see us all do well. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for coming out. Thanks
no worries.
for, this was great. We're going to put obviously all your links there, even to your band pages. So when you don't hire us, you hire Deryck's band. If we're busy, call Deryck.
And my rate's going to be twice as high.
He's been saying it the whole time how expensive he is.
Oh shit.
Well, hey, if you guys want, I'm not sure if you're editing this down in any way or whatever, but if you want me to put this up on the page, I can. Just let me know and I'll gladly put it up.
For sure.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll just stop the recording and we'll talk to Deryck without any recordings.
Bye.
Bye.
Behind the Hooks. With Manny Degrandis and Daniel